Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to sit down and chat with amazing humans about their journeys with mental health. For this episode, I'm so happy to introduce a friend of mine, actually, Aurelie Krau, to the conversation. Welcome, Aurelie.
Hi, Matt. Very nice pronunciation of my name. I had to say that.
Oh, thank you. I was really agonizing over whether I do it right. It's a lovely name, and I'll let you do an introduction to yourself in a moment. But just so everybody knows how we know each other and why we're having this conversation. So Aurelie and I met, a few years ago actually, in a boxing ring. It sounds quite interesting, doesn't it? So I thought I'd set it up that way.
We were fighting.
We were not fighting. I think I was round 7 in the boxing ring, but it was during a conference that we met in travel, and it was in the travel industry. We were doing a conference for the Netherlands Association of Travel Management. I think that's which one it was. And and the concept was around a boxing ring. Anyway, we're not going to talk too much about that, but we sort of had good chats, conversations already. Started to understand a little bit about what I was doing with mental health and traveller wellbeing at the time, and we just remained sort of in touch and as friends over the last few years since that happened. And yeah, we check in with each other every now and again, which is lovely. And we thought we'd check in on a podcast and have a conversation here. So welcome to the conversation. I'll let you do your introduction.
Thank you so much, Matt. And I remember very well that day when we met and the great chat we had at dinner. Yeah. We were sat at the table, and I think you have an amazing quality is to make people feel very comfortable to open up. So very delighted to be guest number 100 and how much?
22, this one.
There we go, guest number 122 wow. Of the series. Yeah, amazing. So for those who know me quite often, how can I put this? I'm known a little bit as a tech geek. Probably with a digital nomad hat, working while traveling. I am passionate about technology, innovation, and I decided to actually use my passion and create a job out of it. So I had a great run for 8 years approximately. And before that, I was working more in the corporate world. So this is actually how we met. Both you and I, Matt, have that in common. We have a business travel industry background. Right. I consider myself a little bit more as a world citizen. Absolutely love meeting people, getting to know different cultures. I'm a fitness junkie as well in the process. I would describe myself very much as a slash gen. This generation that does activity A / activity B / activity C. Yeah, okay. There we go.
There we go. Incredible. And so just a little bit about where you are at the moment as well in the physical location, because you are a digital nomad. So, the accent doesn't match the location at the moment, right?
Not really. No. Not the look either. No. I'm in Dubai at the moment. Yeah. It's a little bit of a grounded digital nomad, but we'll get there. We'll get to that. Yes. Yes, Dubai is my new home base for now.
Amazing. And I love these international episodes. And this is the beauty of this technology, of course, is it enables us to have conversations with people all over the planet, which is just incredible. Absolutely. So that gives me more energy to know that somebody sat in 20 to 25 degrees Celsius enjoying a sunny day.
I know you're jealous.
I am very jealous.
Let's move on.
Let's move this conversation forward. So the big part of this conversation is about mental health and the journey. And I know we've been on a journey, and obviously it makes sense in the travel industry. Journeys happen all the time, but I want to talk about your specific journey, Aurelie, your life, and define it as you will. Tell us what you want, but please just tell us a story about what's been going on.
So I would say, I'm gonna tell once the C word, and then I won't name it again because okay. I think it has way too much exposure these days. But I would say the biggest trigger for me, like professionally speaking, but it had huge impacts on my personal life, was COVID. Yeah. I would say, in a nutshell, my lifestyle that I had created was very much linked to my livelihood. Yeah. So basically, I used to travel so much. I have a location independent job. So the great part is no matter where I am in the world, I need a laptop, I need proper Wi-Fi connectivity, and I can do my job. But this was nice when I had clients to actually work with. And yeah, when COVID hit, I did not realize yet the impact this was going to have, and the feelings this was going to, I would say, revive from like even past traumas that I had in my life, and such feeling of really struggling, absolutely struggling with things that I cannot control. So yeah, I think that was, you know, people often see me like a quite energetic person if I listen to what they tell me and how they perceive me, and quite, you know, spreading some joy, happy person. And it's been very difficult, like even on the inside. I believe I've changed in the process, you know, and we're gonna go into the details in bits. And there are some aspects, like even some behaviors that, you know, are really noticeable, I would say. You know, like on social media, I'm way more quiet. I used to share a lot, even on LinkedIn. I don't have much to say, you know, I didn't have much to say, to be honest. I didn't have the inspiration. I used to do vlogs, you know, showing my experiences working while traveling. I captured some of the episodes before COVID. I decided to launch them during the pandemic because I was like, hey, you know what? Travel's going to pick up at some point, but nobody knew how long this was going to last. I did one in Dubai that got out, I think, early 2021. So it's already a long time ago. And since then, I wasn't in a good mental space to do another one because I just didn't feel like it, you know. I think I needed somehow to be a bit more quiet, you know, and try to figure out my own things. And I haven't been very vocal about it. I was always trying. Whenever I had a few gigs that survived, that went virtual. And I'm pretty sure most of our audience will relate. Everything was virtual. So when you're presenting, because this is most of my job, and this is why I took such a huge hit, because it was so event related, connection related, face-to-face, innovation related. You cannot just show up and with low energy and while being sad, because you need to inflate that energy to people. And in a way it helped me, because it was like a reset, and I was like, okay, you need to put yourself together, try to help people, help your clients. But on the other hand, it costs you so much energy that you're absolutely shattered after that. And I never really shared that openly for some reason. And sometimes you just have some aha moments that make you think, okay, I think I need now to be open about it and have that conversation. And how it also triggered some difficult things that happened in my life years and years ago. You think they were buried, or not even buried, it's not the right word, but you think you fixed them. But when you're really being triggered, such things come and find you again.
Of course.
I think it was 2013 actually, was a year where I'm going to share that very openly. I was supposed to get married that year. And everything got cancelled. It was very harsh because it happened last minute. But it's not health related, but it's some stuff that brings some trauma, you know, like it's quite humiliating. You need to cancel everything. You lose a little bit of money in the process as well. And it happened in the worst way, because I ended up in the police station pressing charges against my fiance because of like physical violence attempt. The worst case is he was a cop, So tried to go to a police station pressing charges against the cop.
Yeah.
And it took me to some quite dark places because, you know, it's very difficult to accept. I went into depression.
Yeah.
I went to see a shrink that helped me a lot because she advised me to read some amazing books that kind of started to enlighten me.
Yeah.
And the whole therapy was about me.
Okay.
Why did I react like that? How did that make me feel? What's my journey? You know, so I think it gave me some ammunitions to handle some events in life. And it took me a moment to realize that I was grateful all of this happened before the commitment, because I think I avoided a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And a lot of pain that would have been so much worse. But yeah, I think it's completely different situations. But sometimes when you have some trauma, what I see in common with everything with this pattern is the difficulty I have to handle situations that are not under my control.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been tough. It's been so tough. I think back in 2020, when we were like in the very middle of this nightmare.
This thing, yeah.
Yeah, I lost 80% of my income.
Yeah.
Like many people in different industries. So this is also I would say the silver lining. I'm not alone. So this is something I realized.
Yeah.
A friend of mine that I'm very grateful for, because he was the trigger to my way a little bit up. He said, look, it was September 2020. Gyms closed again in France. Gyms was my workouts were my, I mean, you follow me on Insta, right?
Yeah,
you see, I'm a little bit of a fitness creep. Yeah. It was the only thing that was keeping me alive. I needed my endorphins. This was my moment where I let off steam and I felt like I sweated out. My endorphins kicked in and it makes me feel better. I wouldn't say it's a fix, but at least, you know, all the pressure, you know, everything, the glass keeps you know, filling in. At least you empty it a little bit and you lower down the pressure. This is what workouts do to me.
Well, that's self-care, right? That's what
he called me and he told me, look, Dubai is open. He lives in Dubai.
Right.
I just moved to a new place with my wife. We have a spare room. Book yourself a trip, do yourself a favor, come see us, spend a week, spend 2 weeks with us. But I have a feeling this is really going to help you.
Amazing.
And then I thought about it and was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. So I used my miles. I arrived in Dubai. I've already been to Dubai several times in the past. And I think day 4, the President Macron announced the second lockdown in France. And I was like, no, just no. I'm not flying back to do this again. Lockdowns were pretty strict in France. And I was like, no, just no. And then I realized I was at some sort of a crossroads. I looked at my savings account. I looked at my pipeline that wasn't glorious.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, now you need to make a choice. You choose you, and you try to improve your well-being and the situation you're in. And because I love the sun, I'm a sun seeker. Or you go back and you need to deal with whatever. And I mean, maybe you'll be with your family, but I know I would have been miserable. I chose to stay in Dubai, without knowing that 1 year later, I would have my residency visa and even start a gig as a fitness instructor. But I think the decision to stay there was the first step that helped me to help myself in this process. Because I realized that there was a lot of pain and frustration and suffering and anger against what? Against a virus. It always turns to the same thing about not being able to, or not being not dealing well with handling something you cannot control.
Yeah.
So that's a long answer to your question, but
no, not
yeah,
at all.
that's I would say the main steps.
Incredible. Well, it's not a long answer because you could have taken half an hour to tell as much as you want, and really, and it's an incredible story. And thank you so much, firstly, for sharing what you've shared and going into those sort of, you know, those moments that were difficult and more challenging, especially back sort of towards 2013. I want to sort of change gear just slightly, if that's okay. I'm not going to go into any of the sort of the content around that, because I know that's obviously something that was very difficult and you've come through. But when did you determine that you wanted to move, in terms of, I don't mean going to Dubai, I mean move in sense of becoming this digital nomad? And I love this because I've always followed that.
That's a great question.
You know, I want to know where that came from. Where did that desire and that passion come from?
So the irony in this is that my parents do not have a passport.
Wow.
They have never been on a plane.
Amazing. Yeah.
They don't speak English. So I have two brothers. I'm the youngest. I'm an alien in my family. But in a good way. I mean, you know, I love them.
Yeah, cool. They're your family, right?
Yeah. I have always been attracted to the world when I was a little girl. So usually you see this background, it's because I'm like starting a new life. I'm in a new place here. I live in boxes and I don't have any furniture. Okay. So I have hidden the misery. You don't see it right now. I had a world map.
Yeah.
And I started to learn where the countries were on the map. Okay. I've learned English, and this is a fun story. I started to learn English on my own. I was 9. And I asked my parents to buy me a dictionary. And you know how I've learned? You're going to laugh. It's with the Spice Girls.
Really?
I was a huge fan. I was such a huge fan. And back then, you used to have magazines and they printed out the lyrics of the songs.
Okay.
And I wanted to understand what they were singing about. So I asked for a dictionary and I was looking and I translated this, and this is how I started to learn how to build sentences, and I started to learn words. I think what helped as well is I'm from the east of France, so we're so close to Germany, to Switzerland, to Belgium, to Luxembourg, that it's already a little bit of an international environment, because all my life I was used to hearing different languages. Yeah. And with my family are not adventurous. Obviously, they don't have a passport, right? Never been on a plane. We went on holidays, but it was in France, car trip, you know. Yeah. I wanted to see more. I remember back then at the cinema, geez, this tells me I'm a millennial, but I'm not so young anymore.
Don't worry, nor am I.
There were some documentaries that, like, you know, people just created, and it was broadcasted at the cinema, and they had books. I took a membership, and I watched this. It was before YouTube, before all of that content, pre-social media, and I was fascinated. So I guess this is how everything started. Then my passion for travel, my passion for foreign languages became quite obvious. My passion for technology as well, because I'm a little bit of a geek. Yeah. It became obvious I wanted to build something around that, and I wanted to see the world, and I wanted to have a job that would allow me to see the world. Right. Okay. My first job didn't get me to travel a lot, but I've learned quite a lot, like from a knowledge perspective, from a methodology perspective, but I wasn't really happy. Yeah. And I'm a lot of a free spirit. I love to be trusted and to do my thing. I'm more deliverable oriented than sitting in an office chair from 9 to 5. Yeah. Yeah. And I knew I wanted to start my own thing. And I met, sometimes in life, you have moments where you meet people that are going to be a game changer for you. And back then, when I met Paul, we actually met on social media. We met on LinkedIn because I was starting to talk about bleisure back then. Yes. And he was skeptical about that. Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? So I challenged him. I was 21, 22. Right. And I met him at an event and I said, that's you. you're the one who challenged me on LinkedIn. So we actually started to have a conversation.
Sure, yeah.
And I was phasing out, like from Amex back then, to start working for GBT France back then, and running the association after Carol Poira did it. And Paul was in the process of founding his own company.
Yep.
And he was like, look, we have some kind of a unique model where you would be self-employed, and you would have the freedom. And so do you see an interest for you? And I was like, you know what? Yeah. So this is how I started. And events, running so many events every time in a new city. And I was very happy. Some other more consulting related, gigs came in the way. And this was, 2015. So I was out of my depression. My depression lasted 2 years after those events. So that was the first trigger. My depression made me realize one thing. I would never have landed those opportunities if I was still with that person.
Right. Okay.
Because the way he saw the couple and the way he acted with me, I wasn't myself really anymore. I wasn't empowered. And it took years. We were together 5 years, and you don't even realize sometimes the negative impact and how your personality changes voluntarily, but not consciously. So I was like, maybe the I don't know if that translates in English, the wheel is turning. This is what we say.
Okay.
Yeah, it translates.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
How do you say in English?
Depends the context. If you're, well, it depends on what you're trying to say. So finish what you're trying to say, and I'll come up.
So the wheel is like see that as a life.
Okay.
And sometimes you enter new phases, like there are bad phases, but things move on.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like a cycle. It's like a cycle.
It's a French expression.
Okay.
And I was embarked on a new adventure, having my best time. But I also realized the past 20 months that I was very happy. I chose my freedom, and I chose that lifestyle over big bucks at the end of a month. But that was a good compromise for me, because this was my definition of happiness. For me, my freedom was my happiness, seeing the world, being able to work 3 or 4 months in a year from Central America was the dream. And it was a different lifestyle that I chose, but I owned it. And when this crisis hits, I realized how fragile my livelihood and my lifestyle was.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I was getting very comfortable, and without realizing it, I took some stuff for granted. Meaning I'm going to travel, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But all right. You wish. And this was part of my struggle as well. I filtered many people that I thought were friends, because I heard comments that for me were not acceptable. Right. Some very sarcastic comment being, this must now bring you down. You're not traveling anymore. Oh, wow. And I was like, don't you realize that traveling is also my livelihood?
Yeah.
And I mean, what's the point? If you want to create this life for you, go for it. It's not like there's not quotas.
No.
It's maybe I took it personally as well, because I was in a very dark place myself. But people are reaching out like, so how, I don't know how you're doing this, working from home all the time. I'm so bored. I sit at home and I'm paid like, because the French government helped, with the different measures, like most governments.
Yeah.
Well, I still have 85% of my salary, but I'm so bored. Like, okay, so you're telling this to me? My business is just completely collapsing.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, I don't think people sometimes realize that it was really not the right time to bring some stuff, because it has a huge impact on somebody that's very fragile.
Yeah, of course.
So I isolated myself a lot, but probably for the good reasons, because I wasn't ready to hear such things.
No.
I wasn't emotionally available for such things. And coming to Dubai brought me in that bubble, a great bubble.
Yeah.
Because the situation here, UAE has done, I must say, they have done an amazing job in handling COVID.
Okay.
Because things were open since summer 2020.
Yeah.
With restrictions,
yeah,
but open.
Yeah.
And it gave me almost like a new life. And I realized, I thought about it and was like, okay, do you picture yourself going back to your 20 square meter apartment in the attic in Paris?
Yeah.
With a tiny, tiny kitchen, not traveling that much anymore because for obvious reasons, I cannot afford it as well, because I need to rebuild. Let's be honest here as well for 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
I need to rebuild my bank account. And the answer was no. And to answer your initial question as well, it had been on my mind for 2.5 years to leave France.
Right. Yep.
I love my country, but I believe it's draining because of the mentality of some people, not all, but some. And again, this is just my personal opinion. Some people would disagree and perfectly open to discuss that. Yeah. But the yellow vest and the protests, and every Saturday there's another protest and protest and protest. And you're like, wow, I don't want to be in that environment. I need more positive stuff. And so, when I saw all the anti-vaxxers and all of those things, I was so grateful to be in Dubai.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm a little bit in my bubble, Yeah. And my plan was Colombia. Wow. I'm a Latina at soul, at heart. Right. Colombia has my heart. Okay. Love that country, the vibes, the people. But it wasn't the right time. But so, Dubai just happened by accident, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and Dubai's gain is Paris's loss, right? There you go.
Who knows?
It's fascinating. We are coming right towards the end of this. I can't believe it's like 30 minutes just as all these conversations. It does, doesn't it? And it's so lovely listening to you talking about your journey and what you've been doing. And I'm going to pass it to you in a second to sort of close from your perspective. But also, I'd like to know what the future looks like for you. What would you like the future to be, or how would you like that to happen? So I'm going to pass that to you. Over to you.
That's a great question, because at the moment, like where we speak, I'm looking at redesigning my life.
Okay. Yeah.
Because my line of business with my professional career is not coming back, at least for now, and for a long time, I reckon. Yeah. So I think I'm at this intersection where I need to figure out what are my options. I've started like in Dubai. This is also why I love this country, because it offers opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten in Europe. Okay. I became a fitness instructor here. Yep. It's just a certification. Well, it's hard work, of course, but it's they give you this opportunity way much easier than, I mean, in France, I am not allowed to teach by law. Right. Yep. Because I don't have that degree that you need, blah, 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 despite the certification. Yeah. So I follow my passion. I'm like you. Yeah. I am mission driven, and I am passion driven. So I'm right now, I have my options in front of me, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? This IKIGAI model, basically.
Hey, yeah.
I'm here.
I know it very well. Yeah, I know it very well. Yeah.
I'm here. What am I good at? What does the world need? Yep. And what's the
passion?
There we go. What are my passion, and what can I get paid for? What can I monetize? I'm here. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Icky Dubai, right? There we go. Maybe it is. Incredible. I'm so happy that we had this conversation. It's just been lovely to catch up and to get to see you on screen. And I know we'd message each other every now and again, and it's just nice to sit down and have a conversation as well. Aurelie, thank you so much for this today, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for being open, and I loved at one point you said, for 2 seconds, let's be honest, and I'm thinking, oh my god, I hope you've been honest for the whole thing, but it was more about your bank account.
Yeah,
right? That was more about your bank.
Bottom line is I realized that in the end things get sorted out, no matter if it's personal, if it's professional. But if you put in the right passion, and if you're genuinely looking at options to help yourself, because at the end of the day, you know, awesome people like you who support us, and I'm very grateful. I have super supportive parents. My mom freaked out when I told her I was moving to Dubai.
Right.
She feels anxious because I'm so far away, and she knows I'm struggling mentally, but she also knows I'm happy here. She sees it.
Yeah.
So my point is, you can have the best support, but at the end of the day, you need to help yourself. It's just you, it's in you, and you need to be a fighter, because giving up is not an option.
No. Very good. And that links very nicely to the thought that we met each other in a boxing ring, being a fighter. And it's absolutely right. It's a wonderful analogy thought, isn't it? But listen, thank you so much for today. For anybody that is listening, if you are struggling with any of the content, if anything's worrying you, concerning you, or if you've got any questions you want to ask, I'm sure Aurelie would be more than happy to take any questions. Perfect. And always you can reach out to me as well if anybody is listening wants to ask any questions of me too. But there are organizations out there who do support you when you're struggling. You're not on your own. That's the most important thing that we always want to put across in these messages is, the stories are our journeys. The reality is we at some point struggle, and we need to get that little bit of help and support. And it doesn't mean we have to go to the ends to get the support. We need to just realize that sometimes having a conversation with somebody can help us through some of those challenges. Please do feel free to reach out to organizations like Samaritans in the UK, 116123. There's also a text service called Shout 85258. And globally, there are many organizations that exist today to help support conversations. That's the end. We are done. Thank you so much, Aurelie. I wish you all the very best, and stay safe. Look after yourself.
Thank you so much. Great vibes to you and to all as well.
Thank you so much.